Somewhere in between the moment that you were born and the moment that you die, you will become aware of one of the strangest facts of the universe, and that's simply that you exist. And I'm not saying that in some simple, like, yeah, you exist way. I mean the fact that you are here at all. Somehow, out of billions and billions of years, out of this massive universe that existed not only before, but will exist after us, you will have at least a brief moment in which you are conscious enough to question your own existence. And this often leads to one of the most repeated questions throughout history, and that's why. Why do we exist? Why are we here? Is there some greater purpose behind our existence, or are we a bunch of animals trying to find meaning in something that inherently doesn't have it? For thousands of years, philosophers, theologians, and thinkers alike have all fumbled with this question of existence. If you look at the different ways in which they've tried to answer it, you see that it falls into these three distinct categories. Either there is some predetermined meaning or purpose that exists outside of us, and we have to go and find that. It's almost our responsibility to do so. Or meaning does not exist at all, and we create it ourselves. I want to start and first take a look at Aristotle, which is one of the earliest attempts at trying to understand this question. Aristotle thought that everything had purpose or meaning. To exist means that you had this function in order to fulfill. So if you look at something like a knife, it exists to cut, or a chair exists to sit in. But what happens whenever you look at humans? Why is it that we exist? Aristotle thought that this was reason and logic. See, to Aristotle, humans were different. We have the ability to reflect, to create, and to make rational decisions that can affect our lives. He believed that this existence at its highest form was something known as eudaimonia. This is often translated as flourishing or virtue. This is very important. You see, Aristotle is not a hedonist in that he's arguing that we should be chasing happiness or pleasure. He believed that a good life was one that was pillared in reason and virtue, and simply developing yourself into the best possible version of what a human can become. To Aristotle, we don't create the purpose of our lives, we discover what we were meant to be. This segues into another philosopher by the name of Thomas Aquinas, who believed in divinity, or that meaning came from something greater than us. If there was some predetermined meaning, where would it even come from in the first place, right? For Aquinas, he argued that this was not some random accident. It was, of course, created by God, and it was intentional at that. See, if there's a creator, then we don't have to create our meaning. It already exists. Whether you see it or you don't see it, it's kind of your responsibility or your job to go through life and to find what that meaning is. So let's say you take a step back and look at the universe and you don't find evidence of some predetermined purpose. That's when you have somebody like Nietzsche. See, he was infamous for saying that God was dead, God remains dead, and we had killed him. And this isn't a murder fantasy. It's Nietzsche trying to explain that these traditional structures of meaning had been slowly collapsing throughout time. And the very things that we once used to rely on for our meaning, whether it was your religion, your traditions, your values, or really just the things that you were born into, all of which began to collapse. And without them, humans are left with the terrifying question of, if we don't have meaning in the first place, then where would we find it? And the answer is to create it yourself, right? You are, as a human, forced to confront this responsibility of creating the meaning for your life. One of my personal favorites that kind of expands on this idea is a guy by the name of Jean-Paul Sartre. See, he was famous for saying that existence precedes essence. And I'll be honest, this concept took me a very long time to understand, which is probably why I like it. But it really is a simple concept. Going back to the knife analogy that I used earlier, somebody designed that knife, therefore the knife had its purpose before it had ever existed. Its essence preceded its existence. But we as humans are different. Again, given that there's no God or something predetermining us, we aren't given some instructional manual or guidebook on how to live our lives or what we should be doing. We exist first, and it's through our actions, choices, and the way that we choose to live that our meaning is kind of curated. It essentially creates who we are. Our identity is not something that we just simply discover, it's something that we actually build throughout our lives. But I said in the beginning that there's kind of three categories that determining the meaning of existence can fall under. If you go to the median of these two extremes that I've been mentioning, you'll find somebody like Viktor Frankl. See, Frankl doesn't say that there's necessarily some universal purpose that everybody has to discover, but he also doesn't lean on the other fence and say that life is meaningless. He plays the middle ground and argues that meaning is something that we create through the way that we choose to live. And if you know Viktor Frankl, This is especially through suffering. And one more concept, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but it's Albert Camus and the absurd, and I feel like it really resonates with this whole meaning thing. See, absurdity is the conflict between our desire for life to have some inherent meaning and the possibility that the universe might not ever give that to us. But to both Frankl and Camus, the answer isn't to just give up. It's of course to just continue on, to keep creating, but to quite simply just experience and create your own meaning. And I think it's fair to say that that's where I land. Maybe there is some predetermined purpose that we're all supposed to discover. Maybe there isn't anything at all. But regardless, there is one undeniable fact that not even you can object to, and that's that we as humans are capable of creating meaning. We do have the ability to choose what we dedicate our lives to. We can choose how we respond to suffering. We choose how we treat other people. And ultimately, we choose how we spend the very limited amount of time that we do have here on this earth. So again, maybe existence doesn't come with some meaning, but maybe let's just sit with the miracle that we are here at all and that we have that ability to actually create one.